And good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. My name is Itsushi Kawase. I am attending this session from Kyoto, Japan. And it's been a really great journey for myself to see all these amazing, really creative audiovisual works. And maybe we have to thank our conveners who has curated this amazing session, who has curated this amazing audiovisual program in general, Annalisa Lamela and Roger Nuram. Thank you so much on behalf of participants of this conference. Thank you so much. And this session showing the invisible, we have quite a few films. So we have authors from 4 different projects, includes anti-colonial quotations, and we have the director, Mr. Rui Vilela, present today. Welcome, Rui. And we have, hi. We have actually authors, directors who made a short film called Imprinted. We have 2 people, 2 authors who did this film attending. Snezana Stankovic, also Florian. 2 people attending. Unfortunately, the director Linda Paganelli is right now having her vaccination, so we have to respect that. Okay, and then we have Caroline, who did this project, the workshop Ethnology Berlin. Web, can I call it a web?
Yeah, web.
WEB.
Wertat is, I will search for translation for that. Yeah, workshop.
Yeah. And finally, we expect Anna Hafschmidt, who made a film. No, this is not a film. Actually, it's actually really this amazing multimodal digital storytelling a website called Forensic Landscapes. She's supposed to show up later, we hope. So we wait for her, but we would like to start the session. So I would like filmmakers, authors of all these amazing projects to introduce yourself. But I have to mention all works are really ambitious endeavors in this session, and I was literally blown away. And they really, for me, it looks like they're really expanding the form and the horizon of audiovisual storytelling, and they really interestingly explore invisible, something like memory, absence, in a very imaginative and creative way, and I was really impressed. So I would like to maybe give a short comment on each project. I have lots of actually questions on each project, but I rather would like you guys to speak about, introduce yourself, and give us a background of these amazing projects. So first of all, I would like to invite Rui Vilela, who this amazing 56 minutes film, Anti-Colonial Quotations. So it's great to meet you and welcome you here, Rui. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. Yes, I can hear. Well, first of all, thanks a lot to the authors for sharing their works. It was really good to watch them. And of course, to the organizers for putting all this together. Well, I am a artist and a PhD student. I'm working at 2 different universities. And I am dealing with mostly with sound. So how can we depart from in this case, from archival recordings and bring them into the present time through performative means. And unavoidably, because this is a sound archive and you cannot get to know everything that happened in the past through an archive, of course, so you need to turn to people that experienced that precise historical moment. So that's what I am doing, basically working with two different generations, people that can tell us about the past, people that have their own perspective on something that they didn't experience directly, but somehow they can relate to. And in the specific case, we are speaking of a sound archive in Guinea-Bissau that mostly comes from the radio during the liberation, the radio station during the liberation movement during the 60s and the early 70s against Portuguese colonial rule. And there's a lot to be done in terms of digitization of the archive and so on, and go through the materials and then work with the local artists. And I'm particularly also interested in the point of view of women who took part in the liberation movement. So it's a mixture of these both generations. I don't know if you have any specific question.
Yeah, what fascinates me was, when it comes to like sound archive or audiovisual archive, we treat it as something to be analyzed. We collect all these data and we examine it and we use it as a scholar, from a scientific perspective. But you treat all these anti-colonial sound archive as something to relive, to revitalize, and to reenact it by local artists and through their performance. It was really, really interesting. And through this performance, we can imagine how, all these strong statements, all these messages were heard. And also, we are attending to the dispersion of all these anti-colonial activities in the present day situation. So I thought it was really, really fascinating. And all these artists, I have many questions, but let me just make sure one thing. All these performers, artists were kind of selected by yourself, or they do have some sort of a team working on this particular topic day by day? How this
no, this is this is an existing theater group with their own activities and goals, and they use the method of theater of the oppressed. So they go out into local villages or whatever, they are all over the place with precise messages that they want to bring out, so that there's already a structure. And I approached them over the years. We started very small, just doing some exercises.
Oh, I see.
Reenacting archival material, just very simple, translating from Creole into local languages. And it's getting more complex, and the reactions to the archival materials, although we're speaking of a fixed theater group with its own structure, they also invite people from outside, let's say a singer or something. So the reactions to the archival materials are very different. Some people want to strictly take the words that are spoken, that we hear from the archive. Others say, no, I'm just interested in the broad feeling of it, and I'm going to use my own words in my own language because this is Portuguese or Creole or something, and I'd rather use some, you have really different reactions. Some prefer to say a text, the other prefer to compose a song, And this is the beauty of it, I think. You're just not like analyzing an archive like an archivist would do, and you're not interested solely in cataloging, but making something new, so to speak, out of it. And of course, this has its own consequences, because these words are getting a voice again, and the context, of course, is completely different. We're not speaking of an armed conflict anymore, so there is that. But the consequences of the colonial time are still there. That's for sure, and it will take some more time for sure, and until, so there's a lot to be thought through still, and I like to call it some sort of post-colonial disappointment that we hear from the voices of the former fighters. They were told, we fight today and tomorrow we're independent. Yeah, but what happens after independence? And there's a lot of disappointment, because they believed in their cause with their whole heart. But what comes with the new democracy and so on has unavoidably some disappointments. So there's a lot still to be done. And so it's some sort of past subject, but also very contemporary, at least, well, not only locally, I want to say, also for us in Europe or elsewhere.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you so much. I would love to continue asking a lot more questions, but I would like to invite another filmmaker, author of the project, and let him or let her introduce their project. And like this, we go on and we get down to discussion gradually. Okay. So is Anna Hafschmidt present, or is she still not here yet? Then in that case, we would like to.
I'm here.
Oh,
I just
hi.
I
Welcome.
joined in with delay. I'm very sorry for that.
No problem. No problem. Nice meeting you. My name is Kawase. I'm a moderator. I'm joining this session from Kyoto, Japan. And thank you so much for this amazing project, Forensic Landscapes. And this it's really amazing project, and it has many short video essays, animated landscapes, description of key terms that explains forensic anthropology from different perspectives, and also personal profiles. And through this multi-layered and multimodal forms of telling story, the viewer, the participant, has a kind of freedom to explore by their own pace, from their own angle and perspectives. It has a freedom for us, as a viewer, to really join your journey. And I was wondering, you could have chosen this project as a single authored film or installation, but you chose this path. You chose this amazing virtual storytelling style. What was the idea in the first place?
Yeah, thanks a lot. Actually, I did. We did a traditional way, a linear documentary on that subject. That was really another way of storytelling. It focused just on one of these landscapes, a Mexican territory, and it got, well, it had another structure, though it wasn't thought as a classical human rights story. Neither, because I've been in and out, more in than out, for the last 8 years or so in this forensic topic, and was sort of driven in by accident, as any other research topic we kind of fall in love with without planning to do so. And so there was a constant layering in the research itself, going to Guatemala, going to Mexico. Then in Mexico, there happened things, a very spectacular disappearance of students, and then everything's changed. So the project of researching, getting in and out, was really all but linear. So it was really in my head to think of a way of how would we be able, or I be able, with different kinds of collaborations to put this all together in one whole story. It was really very clear that this wouldn't fit into one storyline, whatever kind of story that would be. So there was this idea, and Mexico is my second home. So Mexico was for me the heart, the epicenter. I'm really sorry for my English. I'm so used to speak about this in Spanish, but I'll try. So it was clear that Mexico would have a special role, and we did very much more field work in Mexico than in the other territories. But still, there was a commitment to tell a story on this very two specific contested, what I call forensic landscapes there, very much focusing on the agency of this vernacular forensics that the families would do. And this is a very specific and very amazing thing that in Mexico I began starting to work on forensic anthropology, and I was very cultivated and very interested in the kind of agency, the kind of power, the kind of magic that forensic experts would do and would elaborate in these landscapes of disappearance, of first disappearance. And then in Mexico, there emerged another kind of agency of affected families. So it was really a rollover, and it forced me to switch and to get another angle on that. But still, I wanted to have the experts in. And so this was this idea. I really want to focus on these two territories we were working on and with during nearly two years in Mexico. And this had to be not so much a linear story. It's not very linear. It's rather sort of conceptual, the documentary. But then at the same time, I was thinking I really want and need to bring these other territories into that. And the only way is to create a space, a narrative space. So I had the really, I've never done this before, I have to admit. I'm really working with visual stuff in a rather linear way. So it was really a fortune that I got, well, nearly all of my collaborators I found in the countries I work in, and so there had been this Mexican transmedia artists with much experience, and we together developed an idea of how to bring together these geographies and these temporalities that orthodox storytellers or researchers would really reject to bring together, because it's really difficult to, in one narrative space, to talk of the counterinsurgency in Guatemala and the 80s, or a dictatorship in Argentina in the 70s, and contemporary necropolitics or necropower in Mexico. So it's really a very risky thing to do so. And I thought the only way is really to get rid of a storyline and to get into to dare, with this amazing collaboration I had, to dare to create a space. To create a space where, as you said, people, myself, first, or we as an authors group, and then people, visitors, would be able to move around. And actually, it was thought, and some of the resonances I get visit and experience this as if it were an exhibition, going from room to room, and there's always dramaturgy,
yes, dramaturgy.
Because I'm very convinced that telling stories in a non-linear way isn't necessarily rejecting to a notion of dramaturgy.
Yeah.
But this is the interesting thing. This dialect between visitors, as you are always also working as a curator. So you have this idea of the space, and you have an idea how you would like it to be visited, but then people would do their own trajectory and would miss things that you would really like them to see. And that was really, for me, difficult to say. There were these video essays, these about 20 or so video essays, and some of them were really, I was really very much fond of, but I knew that people would miss them because they would maybe go for the more spectacular ones, the more forensic ones, and not so much the quieter ones. So this was really an experience for letting go and entering in this space of non-predictability. That was interesting for me to explore. And it is maybe just one thing more about that. What was interesting, and it was not so much intended conceptually wise, but in the resonances as well, people would tell me that they felt, even people that had never anything to do with Mexico, with Latin America, was a topic of disappearance, enforced disappearance, but they by visiting and going through the landscapes, they had this idea that this very fragmented way of storytelling, of multi-sided storytelling, and of going out and in would in a way correspond very much to the forensic processes itself. And yes, it is. These processes are never linear. In the beginning, right in the beginning, when I began with a friend, colleague, filmmaker, we began to do our recordings on forensic anthropology, this heroic forensic anthropologists in Argentina. We had this idea and we had this storyline. We want them to, there is a person that is looked for, and then in some point they will find him, and this cycle might be closed. Even we knew that probably it wouldn't be one person. It would be a starting point of searching for somebody, and then it would be finding and identifying somebody and restituting him. But then really this linear way of, it's about looking and finding, really in the research itself turned around, because it's really very, it's going in, it's going out, it's frustration, it's finding things that you wouldn't expect, then you have this other detail, and then it's much more sort of collage. And then it turned out that the format the only format for me to bring together this, what I just said, different geographies and temporalities, was this spatial form. And then we realized that this was really corresponding to the topic itself, to the inner logics of the topic itself. And that was kind of, satisfying or great to realize.
Thank you so much. I think we would love to, go straight into the question, but I would like to invite other filmmakers, authors of other projects. Thank you, Anne. Okay, so I would like to invite Florian and Sunizana, who did a 10 minutes film called Imprinted. I hope some of you have watched it already. I like this film very much, and really, this film questions a sense of space and materiality. And for me, in this short film, there are so many messages and so many questions thrown to us. And in this film, it seems like a life and death, memory and present and absence. All these things are penetrating with each other. That's how I felt, and that's how I thought filmmakers, you guys, are trying to achieve. And will you be able to speak a little bit on this point while you are introducing yourself? And also, I would like to know, this is a collective project of several people. Would you like to tell us your what do you call it, like role in this project? Florian?
Yeah, thank you very much for having us, and thank you very much for organizing this amazing panel on visual imprints of culture. And I can, for me, I have a master's degree in cultural anthropology, and with a strong focus on visual anthropology and also archival studies. And so this was like part of a research project we did at the university, the European University Viadrina in Frankfurt Oder. And it was a research project that also was led by Snejana. It was called Ruptures and Memoryscapes, which maybe Snejana, you can say a bit more. You're more professional to talk about that. But it was actually pointed on like different layers of memories and commemoration in the Balkans and in former Yugoslavia. And so our idea was, we started off with researching this whole film, this whole project in Berlin. So we met a couple of times with Snejana and the team, and Linda and I, we tried to put together some visions for the film and everything. But we started off with like, we go there and we find like what we're used to when we go to concentration camps in Central Europe, you know, like big commemorative spaces where it's totally silent. You actually feel through the silence. You feel like this really strong violence of history that's going on in those places. And so that was our idea going into this research from Berlin before we even went to Croatia and to Serbia. And maybe I can talk a little bit about the settings we had. So the first part of the research took place in Serbia, and we were working in a place called Sajmište. It's a part of Belgrade, which was a former fairground for the World Fair, and also for an aeronautics fair, which is pretty much like an impressive space that was opened up in the 1920s, and to open up to the world at first, and to make like also Belgrade more like or to bring it more into the center of like world's recognition or global recognition space. And then it was during the occupation of the city and the country by Nazi Germany, it was actually converted into a death camp, and then later on into a concentration camp. And nowadays, and then afterwards, when they built new Belgrade, they used like those houses and the buildings there to occupy, to actually have the workers who worked on building up new Belgrade live in there, in barracks and everything. And afterwards, it was more or less like an abandoned place. So a lot of artists moved in there, a lot of squatters moved in there. So now we look at the space and we see like a completely different arrangement of people who are using this space. And so when we came there the first time, it was more like, oh wow, there's no silence at all. So we were struck by actually the sound and like the liveliness of this place. We were struck by the fact that there was actually a restaurant in the former morgue, and that there were people living actually in the barracks, which have been death camps, death camp buildings or barracks, and we had to work with like artists who had their creative space there, of course. So this place was very much alive, and at this point, this added another layer to our project, because before we said, okay, we have like this, like Anna also said, like this linear historical layers. You know, we go from the first time this place was built and to the present times, and maybe to look into the future. But now suddenly we have like multiple layers that come in, like social layers, we have cultural layers, we have like political layers. There's so much going on, which is actually interwoven in this place so much. And so we tried to adapt that, and we were trying to be there all the time and look at those people, talk to those people living who are living there and working there and everything. So we figured out that it's not actually about so much about the history of the place, but it's more like the hauntedness of the place, you know. So that and that's a really striking point that you made with materiality and history and commemoration there, because actually the walls talk, you know, and that's part of the film too. You know, there's this woman who's saying like, we don't know what's in the basement, you know, and we are afraid of spirits coming out there. And so there's a hauntedness, there's really this haunted feeling of being there, and the people who live there actually they feel it, and they experience it every day. And so this was basically the starting point for us. We've been to Serbia, we've been to Belgrade there, and to Sajmište and this place, and this was so striking. And then like after a while, we had like the second phase of the research, going to Croatia and looking at like commemorative spaces like Jasenovac, which is like an institutionalized commemoration space. It's more what we expected from Sajmište before, but there again we found this really a strong notion of a place that's haunted, and it's not so much haunted by like the spirits of the past, it's more like haunted by like political narratives, and it's more like it's more haunted by the actual numbers of victims, you know. So that there are like discrepancies between like the political parties and the countries of former Yugoslavia that are actually fighting against each other, like how many Serbs were actually killed, for example, in Jasenovac, or and then we also moved on to Stara Gradiška, which is more this, also more like a quiet, silenced, abandoned place where it's put further away from society, and it has this really strong material haunting experience. You go in there, you have like this empty hallways, you know that there was something going on, and we try to show that more or less in our film too, when we walk along those hallways and suddenly like those drawings appear on the walls, you know, and we pull them from archive pictures, and trying to bring like those layers together, and trying to show how the places look today, and but also what happened there, and trying to put them together, both like a sound experience and how it could have sounded, or how it was unsounded, you could say, and also what the materials leaves for us to interpret, also, you know, to examine. So it's really like this idea of following traces in the archive, and but making the materiality itself a strong player in this whole research, or in this whole tracing of multiple truths that are overlayering and overlapped in this whole political narrative that we were dealing with. Yeah, and this was like, so it was basically, it was a participatory project. There were a lot of people involved. We had, of course, the university, which did like a lot of research on those topics. We worked together with the university in Belgrade and Zagreb, and so we had a lot of historic expertise to work with. This was great, but even though that inspired us like for somewhat of a narrative, the places or the spaces themselves, they were so striking, you know. They have like this really strong own agency, you can call them, you know. They are unsounded, they are silenced, or they are super noisy and super busy, and this is something we wanted to deal with. And yes, so yeah, and we also worked with like this small sketches on the canvas to help like bring out like archival material into the film, but not as pictures, or not as stills within the film, but rather as like active participants of the scenery themselves, you know. And sometimes they are more subtle. Sometimes they just appear and you don't see them at first glance, and maybe you watch again, or you have something in your head and you see it, and then you maybe look at it. But we wanted to do it like as like this really spiritual, or like not spiritual, but like this haunting experience that we felt there. We wanted to bring that also into the film with these little drawings. So yeah. I hope that goes.
Sure. Thank you very much. And
Snezana, you want to add something?
Snezana,
yes,
please.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So I will try to be quick, because Florian said everything what matters or what mattered for the film. So it was part of the project we developed together, dealing with the Holocaust landscapes. So landscapes which endure until the present day. And I personally, I'm dealing with cemeteries and monuments, and then also then furthermore concentration camps. And this was the question, how to present these layers that endure through the present day, and how this non-human dimension impacts the human dimension. And as Florian said, and also Anne, so this layerness, which is not only linear, but overlapping and going or taking many directions. And I have to just add at the very end that I come from the regions, Serbia and Croatia, where the pasts are very conflicting and very alive. And they direct even private every day. So for the Second World War and the occupation of Nazi Germany, and then also the fascist Croatia is lived as the everyday. And people in Serbia, for instance, can watch every week a documentary on Jasenovac that argues for the high number of victims in Jasenovac. And then the other way around, the war of the 90s is also much present and involving these layers from the Second World War. So this was my somehow feeling, and then a question how to transpose this into visual language. And of course, then Linda and Florian did the great work, because it's their language. Actually, mine is more narrative and academic. So I think I was clear, and I don't want to take time.
Whose idea was it drawing this animated figures, these white lines, or these animated figures here and there in your film? Was it Linda's ideas, or was it yours?
No, we actually, I remember that Linda brought in like a friend of her who did like those small sketches, and we thought about like beforehand to actually deal with like those pasts or like these archives we had before we went there. You know, we had like a lot of archives, images and soundscapes, and so, and we actually wanted to bring them in somehow, and we thought about like doing like layovers in the film, you know, like we did with in Seimeste once with a tower. But it was more subtle to do it with like small sketches, and so Linda brought in this sketch artist Maurizio who did a great job, I think. And so it was like, yeah, I think it was like, for us it was clear from the beginning that we need something like that in there. We need something that represents actually visually the past.
Probably to evoke the imagination of the audience, of the viewer. Probably.
Exactly, and not to overwhelm you as a viewer, but to make it subtle, like we
subtle enough.
Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. So finally, I would like to invite Caroline, who did the workshop Ethnology Berlin website project. And Caroline, are you there? Are you here?
Yeah. Do you hear me?
Hi. Yes. Welcome. I really enjoyed this short film, 30-second film. I thought it was something like an invitation, like a window for us to enter this versatile activities you guys are working on. Thanks to Google Translator, I translated all these documents, news, information, all these events, on your website. And I was amazed, this kind of thing was happening in Berlin. I never came across all these this kind of projects, so I was really fascinated. Okay, so could you introduce yourself and tell us about this amazing, exciting project?
Hello everyone, I'm really happy to meet with you, or despite the distances and the pandemics, and so I like it's a blessing in some way, like the positive aspects, and I'm enjoying to be there. And so what can I say? Yes. Well, so I'm Caroline, and I did my master in Berlin, my master thesis, and I'm French, and I am in Berlin for 15 years, and I came through my master's through this association because they are existing for almost 40 years in the city, and they started at a time when ethnology very much unknown. It was unknown, and there were not so many jobs for ethnologists in the 80s, and they gathered together in an association because at the time there were also a lot of finances for associations to have the chance to work as ethnologists and not in other jobs, and so from that time they were organizing, like in cooperation with universities, conferences, workshops, and tours and exhibitions. And one of them was on the topic of alternative medicine in Berlin, like alternative medicine that is coming from everywhere on the planet, from healers that did adapt to the city and proposed to heal there. And then I came to it because I'm trained as a nurse, and as an anthropologist, I was interested in social and cultural aspects of healing. So naturally, I was enjoying this like participating in this, and I stayed there and since 2012, and we are okay. In this winter, due to Corona, we wanted to. Okay, we couldn't have. We had to cancel our conferences and workshops because, technically speaking, such an association is not so easy to directly adapt to Zoom's formats, and we tried with different digital ways to meet together, but it was really kind of challenging for a lot of our members. And there was, I proposed, because we also work on some video documentation on circulation of health information, and I proposed to work on a little film for an internal purpose, and then we worked on that, and it was really stimulating for the other members, and then it was really an occasion to enjoy some activities together despite the difficulties, because that's a point that's really not directly showing, but indirectly through the film, that this very difficult situation of being a person that really like. That is not from this new generation that is used to digital formats, and that is used to encounter a lot of people and organize events, and to be pointed out as indirectly responsible for lockdown because they are risky person because of their age. And suffering at the same time from this is isolation provoked by the lockdown. So this kind of tension and discrimination we tried to work out through the movie. So that's the invisible part of it, and it's. And it was really it developed very nicely together. So instead of being just an internal video for supporting each other through a Corona winter, I decided to make it as a kind of message, also an occasion to. Come in dialogue with colleagues, through it.
How many people are involved in this project? You are in a group, right?
Yeah. So the whole association, there are 12 members. Mm-hmm. And then we have, like when we organize, depending on which events we organize, we can have like more or less, we have a room for 20 people or more, depending, how big the conferences. And for this video, I did it mostly, and there are 2 members also that participate in singing and laughing and giving feedback, because it was also the only us 3 could meet at some moments in the winter.
I could also hear this bow kind of instrument.
Which is in English, Maultrommel. Do someone know? Yeah, maybe I find it. Yeah, that's me playing. I thought it was quite. I like this instrument because it's mobilizing some healing vibration, like our sounds. So I thought it passed. It's working well together with this depiction of
healing and sound. Thank you so much, Caroline. So I'm pretty sure everybody has got many questions for each films, but as this is a round table discussion, we have to set up some I would say conceptual keys to explore certain subjects. And as we have listened to all these self-introduction, all these stories in relation with their projects, I would like to have a discussion on crafting sound, maybe to explore memory, collective memory, personal memory, maybe to explore absence, maybe to evoke imagination of the audience, or maybe to explore or evoke imagination of your own. So any author, any filmmaker of these projects listed up in this session would like to tell your intention in this particular point. And also you could, I mean, anybody can ask any filmmakers, any authors of these amazing projects on this topic. I mean, you don't have to strictly pointing out crafting sound, but you can bring up some issues similar to this sonic sound, oral creation. Anybody can speak out. Anybody can talk about yourself, your own endeavor, or your anybody can ask any presenters here today. You can unmute your microphone and speak out directly. We have only 11 people, so you can just speak out. Caroline?
I was, yes, already writing in the chat to Anne that I thought in her case I was really amazed by this form, non-linear form of depicting that you used, and that for me also directly remind me the ambience of video games because of this sound. And I was really inspired because, or like amazed, because I thought I really like video games, but quite honestly, I don't want to try them because I feel I could spend my whole time playing, so I don't just do it. And that's exactly a format that I thought it's suddenly I can. It's not a waste of time anymore. I mean, I really love this atmosphere of actively discovering your research, and it was really entertaining and also very interesting. So I'm wondering. Well, I have two questions. I'm wondering how if you had this idea in mind also of this gaming culture and the technicality, if that was, if the methods, the technical methods or programs or whatever, if you could tell us a bit about this, how you can create such a space, if you may. Thank you.
Please.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. I found this really interesting that you suggested this video game association, because normally people would feel so paralyzed by the topic that they would not dare to express such a thing. So I really like that. To to create these associations. I have to admit, I've never. It's really a universe quite unknown, and I'm not thinking we are now in another collective more into urban studies. We're now creating also a storytelling project that has much more to do with the notion of it's on web tech urbanism, and it's about the notion the city becoming a video game and technification of our urban space. But then I noticed really in this project that I'm really not much into this gaming logics, and I'm not as you said you really easily could become addicted. But what I really was a very interesting discovery, because the team I worked with, young Mexican artists, were obviously very much into that and had their experience, and were not proposing to create a video game out of this subject. I suppose they were clear that this with me would maybe not be so difficult, so easy to realize. But there was a constant expansion of boundaries, because thinking of these landscapes that I developed with my artistic director, so to say, that I had some ideas, topics I wanted to, and we had this in Berlin. We met in Berlin. He came to another thing to Berlin. So he spent in my with his family in my house, and we worked out on my kitchen table actually the notions I would like, on this very clear idea that I had to, what I said in the beginning, I had to really begin to think this in spatial terms. This was for me crucial, to really get rid of this notion of storyline that we all are used to. I do a photo essay and I know, I have an idea where would it begin and where would I like to end it, even not in textual terms. No, as writers, we do so automatically. And so really let go and say, okay, we're thinking of this space and we have this notion there would be different spaces connected to each other. And so it was this thinking in spatial terms that really Pablo Martinez Zayrate would invite me to, and really to have this imagination to put what I been feelings, and it's very much about hauntedness as well. Obviously, disappearance is very much about the presence of absent. It's nearly commonplace to say so. And then it was really how to evoke these people that aren't there, and how to evoke not just the people that aren't there because they are abducted, but also perpetrators, criminal agencies. These different layers of absences and presences as well, because they are the bodies present, and they are the people present, and they are visible things present, and there are invisible things present. So, and it's all about this forensic notion. It's all about materiality, you know, and what we are able as storytellers as well to, in a forensic way as well, to put things together, the micro fragment, the detail, and try to do this, to imagine from this tiny little fragment a whole person, a whole pattern. That is why, sorry, I'm not answering very straightforward, but I was very intrigued just to do this about the sketches that were inscribed into the memoryscapes and imprinted. And I wasn't sure what I thought about it, because I in a way I found it very evocative, but another way I found it very literal. I thought, do I need to see these figures? Because I'm feeling them. I found it very powerful in audiovisual terms. And so it was, because these were exactly we were very much thinking about literality. And in the beginning, what the team proposed were very literal forms of people acting and figures, very much taken out of our video footage and constructing these landscapes. And I really wanted to get rid of this literal terms and get into another kind of representation. And this was really a searching process for a whole year. It was really a great privilege to be able to work with these guys for a whole year. And this notion, this discovery of speciality and of immersion, this was for me totally unplanned. I did not plan this to be an immersive, we did not record with 360, the immersive camera, 360. I just can't tell this in Spanish. I'm sorry. Well, this all-around camera. But when we develop the landscapes and the spaces, then the program, I would say, well, I think this has to be immersive. We have to create the space really, and I wasn't so sure about that. I do not want people to have this video game experience. This was most interesting, to coming over my own prejudice and to really be able, and also these graphic languages that we would incorporate. This was really, I was very minimalistic. I am still, I'm very much the least necessarily. And then these guys would propose these different languages, animation. I said, no, that cannot be any animation. And it was really great that this animator would prepare us, well, let's do a video clip out of your own memories. And so it was a constant overcoming of my own boundaries and my experience as storyteller used to tell stories with images and with text, but really, and this is collective work. This is collective. So I would not, I learned some technical things because I did not want to stay in my ignorance, but it's really, I could not give you, and it's not about giving a lecture on how to create a transmedia a story, but it's really to get together with the right people. And these guys were absolutely fabulous and very, very, I think collaboration, there's a mystic of collaboration that maybe it's more about division of labor and the work of collaborating with different kinds of knowledges and sensibilities. And so it was, for me, an interesting thing to working just with men. It was very, very new for me just to working with 5 young men, very much into these technology-based devices, and then we would have this amazing creative process. So maybe just stopping here. Yes, well, thanks.
Thank you. I will then ask you to tell me some names where I could find people that would tell more about that maybe. But thank you very much. It was a really nice answer. I really didn't want to sorry for having just thought it was comparable to a video game, but also because of the topic, and also it's very important. It's very serious topic. It's not at all a game. I didn't want to imply that at all.
But really, please don't get me wrong. I found this amazing. I found this great because it's about getting over, not bringing together things that might be this seriousness on this. I'm very much. I've worked decades about memoryscapes and terrascapes and forensic landscapes, and it's really about not making it light, but finding and exploring languages, and not in this notion of. I'm really very skeptical about this notion of educational purposeness. It's so youngsters, and so that come nearer. That's really not. I'm not very interested in that. But it's really about exploring and transcending our own imaginaries, how to represent, because this everlasting question of how to speak, and I think this is the same that you experienced in this work on how to create a visual narrative that would be able to speak of the complexity, the layeredness, the contradiction of an inhabited memory space. As you, felt very much. I worked on this with photography on these spaces in Latin America, where there were terrible things going on in the past, and then it was inhabited by very poor people that would not, in a way, respect the place, but were there in their own rights. I found it's really, and it's about finding, and I found interesting your collaboration as well between researcher and visual researcher, and finding a narrative, finding a language. It's about exploring language. So no, it was on the contrary. I was very intrigued because nobody, there must have been people thinking of video games, but nobody dared to say so. So I really liked the comment.
Okay, thank you. I'm really curious about the other feedback on that, because this actually, what's the informative part? What I meant with that is also relating to the fact that in video games, a lot of time we are dealing with murders and blood, and but with no relation to reality. And this time it's very real, and so that's relieving for me. That's such. Format would be used for a really important actually topic, and not just fantasies of violence. That might be metaphoric. There is it's an entire topic, but yeah, that was my.
Thank you, Caroline, and thank you, Anna. I think Rui or Florian, both of you have unmuted the microphone. Would you like to say something? Maybe Rui, would you like to speak out? No, I cannot hear you. You are speaking, Rui? There's something wrong with your microphone. Can you unmute your microphone, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Please.
I don't know. Well, I was just saying that the question was actually initially about sound. So I would be interested in going back to that. But since we were talking about Anna's work, I actually had one concern, whether the form is too distracting. We spent the whole time speaking of the form and less about the content. So, and the briefness of the scenes actually repeatedly took me out of the subject, because they're just a couple of minutes and I need to get out of the scene and jump into something new. So I was constantly distracted by the drawings and the spaces and so on and so forth. And I wonder if that's an advantage for work. But I would like to move on to other works, because we talked already quite a bit about Anna's work. So I would also like to hear more, particularly about the film in Belgrade. And I wish Kun was with us. I was very interested. I don't know if that's about their perspective on Berlin, what's going on in Berlin, and that's only part of it. I don't know if you know more than any of us present, you, Itsushi, if you know a little more about the work, because I was really intrigued about it. Kun's work.
No, she's not present. She has canceled participation, unfortunately. What particular point would you like to talk about regarding?
I just thought I would like to be in touch with her. I'm guessing I saw some people in the video that I know, so there will be some contact, some connections between the two of us. And it was particularly moving for me because I've just been kicked out of the apartment, but this is a personal reason. So what's going on in Berlin, in Prenzlauer Berg, at least, is really hardcore. I mean, but this is another question. In terms of sound, I would like to say that I'm completely new to sound, right? So I studied visual arts and so on, and I ended up working about sound. And for me, this is getting more and more exciting. And I have two supervisors who are both ethnomusicologists. And I'm getting to know that notions of music and sound are as diverse as you can only imagine. And alone the fact, the exhibition of the video work here in Berlin was already a struggle, especially if you're exhibiting in a group exhibition. And then that's already complicated to have sound. So you have a work which is about sound, and then you have to use headphones. So you're already castrating the work. And then you have all this ecstatic stuff going on. You know, people are not used to this kind of music, and they have some sort of prejudice. Oh, is this white cube kind of music, or how it's not produced, is not electronic, it's not, you know, there's a lot of perceptual stuff going on. That I find quite interesting. And me and my partners, we have different perceptions of music and of sound and of noise, you know, and of talking at the same time or not, you know, or this all plays a role. And if you're working in this kind of condition like I'm learning a lot about how to negotiate sensibilities towards sound and noise and music. So that's for me very interesting, for sure.
I thought you are extremely concerned about how you structure your film with how can I say careful crafting of sound, rather than simply juxtaposing all these recordings which was collected in Guinea-Bissau. You are carefully choosing and carefully not only sound but choosing all these phrases, repetition. Would you like to say something about this? I'm talking about your film, Anti-Colonial Quotations. Rui?
I didn't choose any of that.
Okay.
All I did was I made sure that we had the digitization of the archival material. I had someone transcribing the parts in Creole. I did myself the parts in Portuguese. And I just gave the text to the people, and people select
the
sentences that they wanted, that they felt they wanted to have, they wanted to perform. So it's actually each one's selection, and then it's about putting it all together, shaping it performatively and in the space, and then trying to find connections with the more documentary parts of with the former fighters. Yeah.
Very interesting. Florian, you have some comments? You have some comments, questions, please?
No, I have some one maybe quick answer to your initial question about sound and the role of sound. I think I have to give a little shout out to our sound artist Felix Oxman, who actually did a great work with recording the sound, and he had no experience at all, and he just worked himself into the material and into the recorder and everything, and he recorded most of the sounds that are actually in my view or in our view, like the most important or the most crucial part of representing the non-human agents within the movie and within the film. And so this was really, for us, it was a turning point, that we were working with sound, and we had like such an enthusiastic person doing that and really getting into that and experimenting with the sound and always keeping his headphones on and going around with the recorder. This was a really nice experience for us to work together with Felix on this, because in the end it was like a really important part that sound plays in the film. And to the thing that Anna pointed out about the sketches in the film and the question of do we need them or not, I think it's always like there's always this question, and that's what I like about like media or film or multimedia and multimodal works, that you at the end have a product and you can ask questions on how to do it or how somebody did it and what's the content of it, and we can also ask ourselves like, would we have missed it if they were not there? Would they have left a gap in the end? And so what we try to do also is like not finishing them. We try not to make them hyper realistic. You know, you see those sketches and they're more like sketches, like drafts actually. So they're this in between, you know, they're this notion of sketching an idea and putting them onto canvas. And also for us, as I mentioned before, it was really an important part, or really a central part, that we work with the image archives we had beforehand, because they somehow shaped our narrative through the film, and they also shaped our hypotheses that we had before we even went into the field. So that was something of a bias we never get rid of. You know, it's something, if you go there, you know what happened there because you knew the pictures, and usually they're so enticing. And so it's always like a question of perception, or how perceptible are changes in this final product, you know. And actually I had like a few notes or like a few questions to Rui, if you don't mind, about like what you said about archives and what you did with reenacting, because I worked with like the notion of reenacting archival material in the past, and I would actually wanted to ask you what you think about how like reenacting this archival material reshaped the material itself and the contents, and because in front of the background of like having the archive as something that contains the past but is always pointed towards the future. So how would you or could you maybe elaborate a little bit more on the idea on reenactment archival material as a reshaping maybe, or realignment of the past that's contained within the archive?
Rui?
Well, I personally have been thinking, of course, a lot about that, and I don't think that's an easy thing to do, and I believe we must be very careful about that while doing that, because in this particular case, for instance, the decolonization struggles are very specific historical contexts, and we cannot just, you know, say that we work with those archival materials in contemporary times. I mean, the struggles nowadays are different, so we need to be very careful, right? And when my question that I haven't answered yet is, when a Guinean person is performing a former archival material, does the work immediately put that person performing again in the same position as it was 40 or 50 years ago. So this is very dangerous, I feel. It can get very tricky. So I think one needs to be careful about that. But then again, my conceptual approach is about an anti-colonial critique, and we have to understand that anti-colonial thinking has always existed, at least as long as there has been oppression. So it has existed before post-colonial studies, decoloniality, and so on and so forth. So that there's actually some authors write that anti-colonial thinking has originated post-colonial studies and decoloniality. I think this is a bit problematic. To try to find an origin of something is always a bit tricky. But I do believe that there is something to learn from anti-colonial movements, both in theories and in practices. The way you practice anti-colonial resistance. And as I said, the struggles, the African anti-colonial struggles are very particular contexts. They are armed struggles, and that's not what we're experiencing nowadays, or that's not the reason why we would turn back to these struggles. But we definitely can learn about their theories and practices. And in the case of Guinea-Bissau, we had Amilcar Cabral, which is more or less known as the African Che Guevara or something. Some people say just to localize Amilcar. And all the speeches, just an example, all the speeches that he gave in front of the United Nations. These are things, when you reread his speeches, you will understand, you will recognize some of the struggles that we still have nowadays, So, and looking back and thinking, okay, it's been now 40, 50 years, and we still have some of the same problems. So we still have stuff to do, to work on. Does that, I don't know, does that?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? We can actually switch the subject. We have maybe approximately 15-20 minutes. We can actually ask directly to the director if you have any questions. Any questions on their project, on their film. You can ask anything if you have.
I actually would like to hear more from Snezana. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry.
No, it's wonderful.
I would like to hear more what's contribution. Maybe I got lost a little bit, but how do you relate to the project? Because you said that you're rather a researcher.
Yes. Okay.
So,
can you hear me? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I defended last year PhD thesis dealing with the Holocaust and the expulsion of Germans from my region. It's Serbia, and it was the border area between Serbia and Romania. So this was the former, the part of former Habsburg monarchy. And what's left there are cemeteries of the minorities, so both Jewish and German minorities. And these places are today, regarding the members of these minorities, empty. So there is a lot of absence, but which is felt through stories, on oral stories, better to say, floating narratives through the areas, and on the other hand, through visuals. Through visual side, these are images on the gravestones, inscribed words, and of course then feelings, sensations. And developing this project through the years, so I think 2014, 15, I then got the chance to work with, yes, exactly. I know her work, yes. And then I got this chance, really a valuable chance, to work with the colleagues at the Center Borders in Motion. So with Florian, Maria Klessmann, Felix Oxman, and before that I started working with Linda. So we became both friends and colleagues, as well as with Florian and the whole team. And then this was my question: how to transpose my approach, academic, verbal approach, so meaning words, into the visual language. And because I'm not expert and I don't have this toolkit like Linda, Florian, and Felix have, so I approached them, and I was really tremendously lucky. And it was a dream work. Perhaps it's a cliche to say like this, but this was really a question of this mutual translation. And because as Sushi said, it is also about sound. It's about also, but sound which is unsounded, so emotions hidden. And if I may say to you, Rui, or perhaps I will make a mistake, but watching your film, I had this feeling also of lamenting, and also this repetition, so which is the part of African tradition, but also of Balkan tradition, laments and singing the memories. And it's also what's following my work, lament over the dead, and but also spoken and unspoken. So this is my contribution. So I hope, yes, you can, yes.
Would you like to respond, Rui, to Sunizana's comment regarding
sure.
lament?
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can. Well, I don't have. At the very beginning, there's this song. Yeah. So this is. This is something in that direction, yeah. But I'm guessing that actually they call it exactly that from the Portuguese. They call it exactly lamento, and it's a specific kind, I don't know, of song or a specific kind of music or something. But I'm not a specialist in that yet. This is, I have not yet dealt with the specific kinds of music there. This is something that you need to be careful when naming the things. But I don't know. It's that first song by Elsa at the very beginning. I will write a text about it. I have the impression it is felt, what she says. She really feels what she sings. It's her own words. This is someone that didn't want to work with archival material, but said, no, I just want to get the feeling of it, and I will translate the archive with my own words. I will make something up that I feel it's right. She's from a younger generation. She's 40 years old, so she did not experience the liberation movement, but she has a feeling. And this is in a way also inspiring, you know, this is a way of dealing with the past, I feel. This kind of music, this way of treating the past through sound, with sound. And the older ladies haven't yet heard Elsa's song. So I'm wondering, once they listen to it, what it will mean for them to listen to this, because what she sings is pretty hard, huh? I have been left alone in my village because everyone left. It was like that. People had to leave the villages because Portuguese would see from the air where the villages are, and they would bomb the villages. If people were hiding in the forest, Portuguese would not know where they were. So I'm sure the older ladies will be able to relate to the words that Elsa, without having experienced the conflict, came up with. And I think this will be very interesting. But of course, it's also painful to listen to this for them, particularly. So, but about lament, I cannot yet say. I understand the specific kind of music, at least in that context. So I'm not able to say much.
May I just add?
Please go ahead.
Thank you. So I know the term in Portuguese carpideira. So it's lament about death, about dead persons. So yes. But on the other hand, there are different sorts of laments. And as you say, really, we should be careful naming things, because there are wedding laments, but there are also laments about loneliness and about disappearance of materialities, not only of lives. So this was my impression when I was watching the film. And also there is this sentence that is repeated. I don't know if I now will if I will repeat it well, so I apologize in advance. It's about motherhood and child, that there is difference between child being born without father and without mother. And so this really left a very strong impression on me.
Yeah, I think that's a popular saying that they have in Guinea. And it appears, that popular saying appears in the archival material, but the younger generation knows it, of course, and they immediately react to it. It's a child may be born without a father, but never without a mother. So, and I also was very touched by that sentence. I mean, yeah.
Thank you very much. Anybody has other questions to any projects?
I would like to ask Caroline. Sorry, I didn't understand. Do you have a physical space that one can visit in Berlin?
Yeah. Mehringhof, Kreuzberg.
Okay.
Is the sound okay?
Yeah, you said Kreuzberg, yeah?
Yeah.
Kreuzberg, yes.
It's interesting because this house is one of the last self-governing group of projects in the city. So it's quite interesting because there it's very basic democratic. Every big decision are taken in plenary sessions. And that's quite, I think, well, I like it very much there. And maybe shortly, this it was former before it was edition factory, like where you make books, like you print books. And well, after the war, like in the 70s, there was this project of adult schools, self-organized. And they had the chance to have these rooms for their lessons, and it started with that. And then with time there were other projects coming, and now there are 30 something projects. Do I answer your question? different projects.
Yeah. But do you guys get funding from the city?
Well, some of the projects, of course. We at the moment, we had some for some very specific projects we had, but last time was not. Was a few years ago, because the problem is that you have maybe you know already the story, but maybe some others not. But a lot of us are based in Germany or Berlin. But it's for projects fundings, you have to have done the projects already, and then you apply for funding. And when you get the money for the last work, you have to already have worked for the next. And it's really such an organization, and until now, I'm not really fit for this with such sports, and I finance myself parallel with my job as a nurse. So I might be partly one of the reasons. It's also, it's one of the reasons I'm also wanting to work with more people that are maybe more fit in that part of projects, to be able to keep up with these dynamics of funding. But that's one the really difficulty at the moment. 20 years ago, it was really much easier to get funded, and it's more and more competitive. There's less money, and so that's one of the issue for such associations to continue functioning.
I was thinking that I would come. That I would like to come by. That's something.
Yeah, but give me your email. I'll give you the next. Send you the next invitation, and Florian also.
Yeah,
I was.
Please, you want to
ask if I wanted to ask you if do we have the email addresses or something?
Yeah.
Of everyone.
Yes, I do have it. Let me share with you guys all email addresses later. But I just wanted to quickly ask Caroline. In German, in Deutsch, there's a word called Lotse. Lotse means a captain or something. In the harbor, all these Lotse people, they helping the boat or ship to park.
Uh-huh.
So your activity kind of reminds me of kind of Lotse between all these anthropologists and wider public, trying to connect anthropological knowledge with the wider public. And I sometimes go to Germany to teach in different schools like Bremen, Hamburg. I was in Frankfurt, and last time was actually 1916 when all these immigrants, refugees flooded over, in Haftbahnhof everywhere, and there were some Lotse kind of people, like students mostly, I would say, and they were touring all these, Africans, all these immigrants, refugees, touring the town and kindly explaining this. Okay, this is a museum, and this is a park. You are supposed to do this. You are not do this, and really kindly, generously telling all these things. And I was thinking about these moments when I was reading your website. Mm-hmm. Is Lotse close to your activities, or it's completely different things?
It's part of it. We had this project. We started this project 2015-16 when a lot of Syrian people came to the city, and we wanted to as anthropologists, we wanted to involve some interested newcomers to think with us how we could, as anthropologists, think together ways to accompany the new experience or or them coming. But actually, we had the difficulty that the people, there were really few interested in the sense of the time that it takes, and the fact that we are not able, as an association, to really finance, like pay people for like we are not paying ourselves, we are paying for our activities. So that's quite kind of difficult to build on this frame. So we are working with people that are doing like tandems, or with the university that also have some meetings and also participate in different projects. But that is not directly something that we do now at the moment, but maybe it can come again. I mean, depending on who is bringing energy and new ideas and workforce.
So
maybe the public is sorry. I just wanted to ask if the two person that are listening to us, or if they have questions as well, because I see that they are still there.
Yeah, I come from the invisible to visible. My name is Eija. I come from Turku University. I make my PhD there about multi-locality and Karelians. And I was actually sent here to this group because I'm among the 4 people who write a short report about this to Ethnologia Fennica. So, but this became very interesting. I'm not a filmmaker, but actually I'm doing interviews to my PhD, and among them there's one filmmaker, and we got some idea that why not sometimes then later, I'm now in the beginning of my study, to make a documentary about the subject. So I got good ideas and somehow like what all one could make to, if you break the rules and do something, or let's say what all you could do if you just engage yourself to it. So thank you for this interesting session. And actually, I'm at the moment in Germany. I'm not in Turku. I'm happy I was able, after 1 year, to travel to my husband's home country, Germany. So we are all living in Finland. And now I'm in Germany. So I think like some of you as well.
Great. So now I think we have to close the session now. 45, I think. Would you like to say something? Would you guys like to say something? I mean, if there's something you haven't really spoke about, you haven't really talked about, and really say in the end, if there's anything. If it's okay, we would like. I mean, there's another session waiting for after this, so we have to leave the space. Okay, Florian.
I just wanted to say thank you for this amazing talk. It was really nice, and I would love to keep this discussion up afterwards. And so maybe if we find a way to exchange our contacts.
Maybe in that regard, I have kind of a virtual forum called Anthro Film laboratory. It's actually based in Osaka, Japan, but we invite basically anybody. We have, last couple of years, we do have Zoom sessions. And if you have a chance to drop by Japan, you're welcome to stay in our museum. We have a graduate school. We have a huge national, gigantic museum. We have many screening spaces. And yeah, please drop by. And I'm also, sorry, I'm just advertising my activities, but recently start the journal called Trajectoria. So if you want to submit your film, article, and fascinating digital storytelling like Anna Hafschmidt is working on, you are welcome. We have an amazing designer. He's supportive, and he is really helpful. He has really advanced thought. Oh, sorry.
At first, you didn't send it.
So, let me see.
But
I will do it. Now I will share these two links with everybody. Did you receive it? I have sent two different links. One is about a kind of seminar, forum, workshop things, and the other one is a journal. It's an online RefLead journal, which has just started out 2 years ago. And it's international. We have 4 editors, 2 from Japan, 1 from England. The other one is from Norway. So we're running and we're welcoming all these audiovisual multimodal projects. It can be single authored film. It can be article. It can be a multimedia presentation. It can be sound installation. So if you're interested. So after this, I would like to share each one's email address among us, right? People who are present here today, and thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and ideas and all these amazing words. Let's keep on jamming and let's keep creative and constructive dialogue. And we would like to thank conveners once again, Annalisa and Roger, for giving us this great opportunity.
And I would like to
Please.
spread that you really did an amazing, a very great job, because there are moderations to moderations, and your one was just great. I think we all felt very comfortable. So I just wanted to say thanks for that also.
I thank you so much. And it's a great pleasure to meeting you all. And please stay safe and healthy during this very difficult time of a global pandemic. Okay. So thank you so much. Let's keep in touch. Ciao, ciao, bye-bye. Spita. Ciao, ciao. Ciao, ciao, bye-bye.